That they wouldn't impact the trees, and that includes staying out past the drip line edge of the trees and where we could fit them in. And we've staked out 2 different locations that could make sense in terms of the trees, okay, I'm not speaking to everything else. In terms of drain field and septic field, we had a public works building that sat out there, or not public works, but the temporary town offices that sat there for over a year and utilized the existing drain fields, whatever. In the agenda, we say that we're gonna use this location because we can use the existing infrastructure. What infrastructure is that?
We're still putting a new drain field in.
Yeah, I know we are, but that's what the agenda says, so I'm just saying, there's inconsistencies in the agenda with that. But there are locations over there that 4 out of the 7 tree board members have walked and looked and talked about with me personally about where they could go that would not impact the trees, there are locations. I've reached out to the Forest Street neighbors because that's the one thing I keep hearing, I hear it at every council meeting. They're gonna come out against it. I even had a conversation earlier today with staff that said, you know, in 1 year, they think we'll be back here looking at putting the bathrooms back in the same place. There's never been an alternative looked at. Nobody's considered, the pavilion's different, the pavilion comes with noise. I've had some residents on Forest Street tell me, and people who are friends with them that unfortunately couldn't be here tonight because everyone was traveling, that they think the bathrooms would help with blocking the sound. Because of food truck and whatever, it's not a pavilion, it's not creating music. It acts as a wall. And they talked to me about the landscaping, what they would wanna see behind it. You put the bathrooms over here, it's going to have the new system, it's gonna have to have a hump in the yard somewhere.
Why?
Because of the
You said
advanced
that.
treatment system, because of the water tables and the new advanced treatment systems that are required by the public health department, I've had this conversation with Brad.
Okay,
So,
I just put in a new system and it doesn't, if you got the acreage, which we do. To put a level system, there shouldn't be a problem. We're putting level drain fields in all over the place, not everybody has a hump, it's only if you don't have enough green space.
okay, so tell me, why are you not open to any other idea except for the one that was originally created without looking at any alternative locations for bathrooms? You guys are making
Because I've
assumptions.
sat up here long enough and listened to enough people yell at me about putting it back where you keep saying, nobody's gonna complain, where our little soccer field is, where the old town admin temporary building was. We went through this for multiple years.
And delayed.
And delayed that
Cost us $1 million.
Yes.
That's
And
right.
every
It's
time
$1
we
million
get,
because it was a pavilion and a sound stage with music with an opening at the back that would send sound there, and because it bifurcated the middle of the yard. That pavilion was never gonna be pushed back to Forest Street because Tom Street and other people and you guys as well thought to keep it more into the middle.
in the middle of the design, it was always a piece of the contingency, even when we were supposed to put in the. Exercise equipment. That was supposed to go behind it, that was an issue. I mean, I had people all the way down on Butler Street going, we don't want bathrooms at all. But that's not realistic.
Yeah, well, I've had other people say
Yeah,
about that.
I'm tired of looking at the guys being at the bathroom when I'm standing in the kitchen, looking out at the basketball court, and the guy standing underneath the window peeing. You know, and my wife's standing here.
I'm not saying don't do the
You know,
bathroom.
bathrooms need to happen. But I see this project moving forward. You know, it's not okay, let's start on the town hall and not do anything. And waste, 2 years to get started now? When we need to get started on something. We need to
Then start
fund it.
on fixing the town hall, give the residents a
That's
chance
what
to
I'm
be
saying.
heard.
If I may, I feel like. Brandy should be able to say whatever she wants, and then when she's done speaking, we can counter it. I feel the same way when I speak sometimes, to be honest with you. I think it just needs to be, just do the same thing the public does. Let's say our piece, and then the people that don't agree can counter when it's their turn. I just don't think we should keep interrupting each other just because they don't agree with their opinion. And I'm not putting you necessarily, because I've done it too.
Absolutely.
So let's let Randy finish what she's saying,
So
and then we can move forward from there.
So Tom, what we'll do is we'll follow the proper rules of decorum and you guys can wait and I'll recognize each of you and then we'll proceed that way.
You know, I'm in the. Let's start.
I've done the same thing.
Yeah, we just need to move forward and get something, get staff going in the right direction. Getting funds and getting this architect to finish up all the things and starting assessing the building.
Okay, but we can all agree that the building needs fixed, correct? All five of us sitting on this council can agree that the building needs fixed. It's budgeted for 2025 anyway. So let's let it move forward because it needs to, and we're all saying it's gonna happen in 2.5 weeks anyway, 3 weeks. Because that's the beginning of 2025, correct? So let's let the building move forward. Let's give it 1 month to at least hear from Brad what the residents had to say, because the reality is the majority at the charrette on Zoom and the majority of the people who were at the charrette in person that was conducted by Waitrim wanted the bathroom somewhere else. I feel like it's just turning a blind eye to that information that was presented to us, and I understand what you're saying. I know you guys went through the pavilion. I was at the council meetings in 2018. I think you were on, I don't know if you were even on it
Yeah, I
then.
was there.
But I was at the council meetings when they started talking about the pavilion, and I was on the record back then saying, it's too modern, it's not gonna fit in with the town, just saying. But whatever, it got its momentum and it got kicked back, and I understand the frustrations that people don't want it. But it's like we moved it from that, this was supposed to be a multi-purpose room, it changed to a bathroom. This bathroom design and the new porch design, also none of that's gone to historic board. Historic board is supposed to vote for a certificate of appropriateness, we talked about that, we talked about that for a year. I talked with the historic board chair today, it's never gone before historic board for their vote for certificate of appropriateness. There's been no meeting about the current design since Healthy West Orange pulled funds for the bathroom. And the rules on Department of Interior, which I know Teresa spoke to some of them, say that the view cannot change from the front elevation of Main Street. So if we define the front elevation of this building to be Front Street, or sorry, Main Street, that's the front elevation. The current bathroom as it's designed sticks out further than the building. Which we don't have the elevations to look at, but it does, and I saw the elevations. That bathroom sticks out beyond the town hall on this side. The porch sticks out on this side. So that's the stuff that can affect our National Historic Preservation. And I would like to ask Tanya and Robert if there's been any communication with SHPO since Healthy West pulled funds, because the last time I know that we showed them any drawings and got their opinions was December and January. There was a virtual meeting in January and December. There was email communication that went back and forth between Tanya and SHPO. So I don't feel like we have those pieces. The one piece we do have is doing town hall. Fixing town hall, fixing the porch so it can look decent, because honestly, it looks like crap. It's peeling, I see people up here at food trucks peeling the laminate and whatever the posts are made out of. So let's fix it and have it look good for our centennial. That's moving forward with something, and it's something that we all can agree on.
The centennial starts in 2 weeks. So there's not going to be a lot of town hall renovations to be accomplished in 2025 based upon.
Well, but you guys are saying that's the year that it's proposed for.
It's talking about the bathrooms and we still haven't
No,
funded.
no. What Andy Williams said, sorry to interrupt, was 2025 is, okay.
I mean, really, I don't need to be yelled at for like 20.
Okay.
It's ridiculous. So. This. How's a person that?
Quick question for you, Tommy. The delivery method for both of the projects, so they're gonna be design bid build projects or design build projects? So this are your capital outlay requirements for each phase and whether it's.
The plan is to have the architect finish up the designs and do the full plan set for us. We will then bid those out to contractors.
Good. So we've got a long way to go before either one of those projects are in. Field.
Including the bathrooms.
Correct.
I
And
honestly,
the other,
I'm sorry, I thought you were done.
the only other thing I want to point out is, you keep referring to the design chart. I took pictures of, what the favorites and least favorite pieces of Windermere were. 5 items on the favorite list were green space and the historic trees. Okay, by far, they got the most votes. Some of the least favorites, lack of real toilets. So to solve both of those problems, we need to move forward and do something. We have been talking to ourselves for over 2 years on this. How much discussion do we have to have before we move and give the residents what they want?
Can I speak now? So yes, there were boards at the beginning of the charrette, which a lot of you were there for, that said, what's your favorite thing about town hall? What's your least favorite thing? And then everybody had to go up and put a sticker on it to put a vote for it. At the end of the charrette, and I did ask this email to council, but if I recall, I was the only one at the end of the charrette. Everybody had to come up with a design that they wrote on the town plans. There were 7 groups, 7 designs were drawn out. Everybody came up, they presented their designs, and then, and I love this, and there was a reason behind it that was explained, that each person who was here was given 1 sticker to vote on the designs that they liked best. Didn't have to be their own design, they weren't allowed 2 stickers, they were only allowed 1, and at least, I don't know, 5, 6 people sitting in the audience here were here that night. And the designs they chose were with the bathrooms located somewhere else. By the majority.
Councilperson Williams.
Okay, I was at the charrette, and yes, I did not stay. If I recall, we were asked, that not to engage too much at that charrette, because Brad wanted to run it a certain way. So, like, great, you know? Sat back, saw how they were putting it together and to move forward. I did notice one thing at that charrette, and I brought it up and I brought it up multiple times. It was a great turnout.
Yes.
How many, do you think it was representative of our townspeople that use town square?
Well, I know what you're getting at, but I feel that we.
No, I get finished. Because it was a great turnout. Great, a lot of friends, people I knew. But it was the old guard, it was 60-year-olds and up. You know, and I think everyone, I'm here to love the community. But if you look at the whole, if you
All younger women.
experience, you can make it smart. There were almost 0 moms with kids that used the green space there. There was very little. And I commented on it, and several other people have said, yeah, I'm not sure you're not wrong there. So that's, you know, I'm like, okay, I really want to hear from some of the moms that bring, and the dads that bring their kids up here and use the basketball courts. That use, you know, that are here for food truck, you know. We've got 2,500 residents. So, you know, I don't think that we hire experts for a reason. Architects being the #1. So, you know, I think our architect that we hired is specialized in historic preservation that HPD recommended.
I thought the demographic that was here, yes, was mixed with a slight lean to older generation. I can agree with you. Teresa is right, though. There were people from my neighborhood that have children in elementary school. The town hall charrette that was on Zoom was a different mixture of people. It wasn't all heavily laden with people over the age of 60, if that's what you want to refer to. And hearing feedback from the families with children and everything you're saying, I completely agree. We do need the feedback from them. Our survey, unfortunately, asked what they want to see and what they don't want to see. It didn't ask them whether they think a location of the bathroom is better or not. And that's the kind of feedback that I do think we should get. Now, I go to the elementary school every day. I lost track how many people I see in a day, but even at Walker pickup, I see probably 50 people. I've been asking people, fill out the survey, what do you think? Where do you think a bathroom would be helpful? And the people that I know that go to food trucks, and I mean, in the younger crowd, does more of us go to food trucks, and I realize that as well. They say that they would rather have it over there. When you're out there, I don't know what events you guys attend, I do attend everything. When I'm there for food truck, the families are sitting over there by the basketball courts. The kids are playing on the basketball courts. And their rollerblades, their scooters, whatever else, and it's convenient for the bathrooms to be over there. As it is now, I don't like to use the portalettes, so if the library is open, I take my daughter over there and trying to get her to walk away from that field to go over there to use the restroom, not good. All the parents that I've talked to, and I drive and talk to every single parent, think that it's better suited over there or over here, because it's where the kids are already at and playing. Nobody wants to walk, when you're over there, like, and I've had people say, if you're over here and you're doing it, you've got the parking lot. People can come over to the parking lot, they're ordering their food, nobody's wanting to stand over there ordering their food and using the John at the same time. They're over there ordering their food and they go back to wherever their tables and seats are. We have Pet Fest, we have any other event, everybody's out here using the fields, and the reality is that's where the children are, and that's where the children are running and playing, and we're trying to keep an eye on them. And it's a lot easier if you have a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old to tell a 7-year-old, okay, you can go to there, while I keep an eye on the younger one who's right there. It makes a lot more sense from a family standpoint, in my opinion, and from the people that I've talked to, and I have tried to reach out to them. Unfortunately, they haven't made it here, but we could ask Brad, do a survey. Here's 3 locations we're looking at for the bathrooms. I mean, everybody thought the charrette he did was great. I've heard nothing but positive things from the residents who came out to that. I've heard nothing about positive things about the surveys done. It's well done. So why not solicit that feedback? You're saying you want to hear from the younger demographic. You're making my point for me. Let's hear from the younger demographic where they think the bathrooms make the most sense. And stop making assumptions that it'll automatically fail based on past. Things change. There's more families moving in here all the time with young children, and it's a lot easier to keep track of kids closer to where they're playing.
Any additional comments or questions, council?
Yeah, I would like to say, Windermere.
Councilperson Street. You have the floor. We'll now mute all of the. I know. I'm not talking.
There. Okay. So, and kudos to Brad, I was here for it, we were told not to engage, but and I understand that. Especially if you're a small personality, people should be able to do what they want. The bathroom, my opinion, first priority. I like the green space. I don't want to see trees, I understand it's off the tree board. My opinion, it still would create a lot of issues, I don't think it's that much further to walk from whether the bathroom's there or there. Because your kids don't always look for some of the same spot, it's just my opinion. A lot of downtown businesses need this bathroom, we decided to grow downtown. And it's not a bad idea, I'm all for it, I kind of live until I die, so I might want to walk over there and get a bag in someday. I like the idea that we have bathrooms downtown. For me, I love historic, my house is over 100 years old. I kept it that way, I still have the weights in the walls, and I restored it back to its original construction, so I'm all about historic, don't get me wrong. I've done a lot of repairs in town and historic stuff, and I plan on continuing to do that. I don't think that's taking anything away from the historic value of this property myself. I think that bathroom will get done. Probably right on the heels of this get started, matter of budgeting, I think that we have kicked it around quite a bit. I was one of the people that started the water early on, and the bathroom was already on, and if I had started sooner, maybe the bathroom would still be there.
Yeah,
So that'd be part of my fault too.
it's possible, it's not your fault, but it's
Well,
possible.
yeah, very possibly still be there. That septic cannot handle it, I watch them drain those septics over there every week when they were the public works building, it's not enough. It won't be enough, I don't think we have to do a rise there. I'm not an architect and engineer, but we're pretty high and dry up here. My opinion is we move forward with it, we approve the funding and we put it back in right.
The other thing that I would ask, thank you, Tom, the other thing that I would ask is that we consider carefully the ADA requirements and the needs for individuals who are not able body to be able to have to then go all the way over there based on an event over here, is asking quite a bit as well, so.
And one of the things, if, I know John can do this in his sleep, because he just left. But if we did get elevation, maybe we could scale it down some. I mean, I don't know, we have to have 7, I'm not, that seems like a lot, but maybe we could scale it down some. If we can, but anyway, that's fine.
Tom, I think we added one, actually, at councilperson Main's request, we added the single family bathroom. Because that was input that she provided, that she felt that families find that more useful, and I agree, and it also allows us to keep one open without opening all of them. It allows us to control that situation a little better, maintain the bathrooms better, keep them. I mean, I think from a facilities management standpoint, that's a clear win, we can make that one pretty durable.
But I will say, I'm gonna swap background, Dave and I both, I like these candid conversations. I like the public speaking up, I like people getting upset and having their opinion, raising their hands and showing up. Cause without that, we don't really know what people want, you know, including town council, we have to have this conversation, because as everybody knows, we cannot talk to each other. I see these people in the street and I turn away. Cause the COVID's still going on, so it's, we have to have these, they get heated up here. Because we all care and we all live here, Andy's father went to school over here in the original elementary school, so. Yeah, we care, you know, I lived here 25 years and I care too. So we're gonna see this stuff, we don't hate each other, we still go to the brewery together, hang out together and. Buy popcorn for each other's movies, so it's not like that. It's just that we have to have these discussions up here, because it's the only time we can talk to each other. Just the record.
Fred, did you have something?
Also, just if you have questions of me.
Okay.
I do have a question.
Yes, sir.
Do you have a certificate of appropriateness? From the historic board, has it, and we already got that from them,
That's not a question for me.
okay?
So also is the bathrooms are not a historic building, they're not attached to a historical building.
That's correct.
Doesn't matter.
Brad, could you explain what the rules were for the certificate of appropriateness again? And then Robert, Tanya, could you answer and address whether or not we've gotten that from historic board?
I don't think that's a timely question at this point. You can't bring a design to the historic preservation board before the design is complete.
Yeah.
There's, right now you have conceptual drawings that have 0 detail. And you want to bring those to get a certificate of appropriateness, there's no submittals for finishes, there's no submittals for anything.
You guys were bringing it to them in 2023. With the same level of designs for the gazebo, so what's the difference now?
Keeps
You
changing.
didn't bring it.
It's not amending the town.
Well. In 2023, there's a list of all the dates that this was brought to historic board for their review to see if they thought that it was in line with what they need to do, because they need to have a certificate of appropriateness to move forward. So this was brought to historic board for several meetings, and
We're input, not for a certificate of appropriateness to a building that's 100 yards away. No, I could
what
be wrong.
building's 100 yards away?
When we were talking about building a pavilion, it's not even.
He's talking,
No, I'm not talking about that.
doing the renovation here.
Oh, we talked about.
It included the bathrooms, it was, I mean,
But that included changes within this existing building structure. This, I mean, for my opinion, it doesn't. It's not attached.
It's not changing the facade, it's not changing the building, it's a separate standing building.
Right, we're gonna do a lot more changes than what is contemplated.
okay, but are you talking about just the restrooms or the town hall as a whole plan? Of what you guys want to approve tonight, because the town hall drawings that were presented for tonight's agenda includes the porch to the north. The bathrooms. And it also includes the roof line over the addition being changed from what it is now historically. Because that's a flat roof. And the elevations, which unfortunately is not the agenda packet that I've seen, shows that roof line changing to have a gable. On the addition that the bathroom is currently housed in. So. Are we discussing just the bathrooms? Or are we discussing the whole town hall design, to be clear, because there are changes to the building. We're closing off this doorway and we're putting in a pantry. We're changing the roof line of the addition over here. we're adding a porch to the north side. That all affect the view, that all affect historic designation, so. Or are you saying we're only talking about the bathroom right
Can I make a comment?
Sure.
As somebody that's walked along this for the last 3 years. Maybe give you guys a little bit of insight. If you recall the last meeting that we had with council, everything was really improved for the town hall renovations. The only comment that was made at the time was looking at adding a family restroom.
Mhm.
We came back to add a family restroom into the design, I worked with Stephen Withers. And that's what we want. And here we are. I'll just leave it at that.
Thanks, John. All right, council.
Just to clarify, so
Yes,
the agenda item says for bathroom renovations and town hall.
Correct.
It's all three.
Pursuant to what John said, also.
So I thought we had some discussion as to the renderings for, because I do have some objections to the gazebo personally.
now?
I thought we had some discussions, not even correct me if I'm wrong on this. I thought we had some discussions about readdressing phase 2 and the actual adding on of this side over here when that got here. Is that correct or not correct?
Yes and no, and I'll tell you why. What we've been trying to do for the last 3 years is come up with a schematic design and a program. We've gotten to that point. Left out of the program is a family restroom. We incorporated it. We came to you guys for approval for the program at schematic design level. There are going to be many other chomps at the apple as we refine the design. But until we understand schematically and programmatically what we're doing, I can't move forward. I'm not going to send this historic architect down these paths of no repute because I don't have an approval from you guys to say, this is it. And as we go through that, there are a lot of things we're going to look at. There's going to be things that we say, hey, maybe we don't do the interior restroom modifications because we now have restrooms out here. There's going to be things that we've already looked at from constructability and estimating that, hey, maybe we do keep the flat roofs and we don't get into this design of the pitch roofs. And there's a lot of things we're going to look at through design and construction. It's no different than what we went through with this town facility. We came up with a schematic design and finally got to the point where we could actually do construction documents. And right now, we have been in circles for the last 3 years because we can't figure out program and schematic design. And yeah, and so I look at, after having been through this process with the pavilion, tearing down bathrooms for the wine and dine, not now having bathrooms, and then saying, hey, we want to put bathrooms over here underneath by the library, which could affect 2 live oak trees, and I have to trim trees to be able to put it there. All of a sudden, we're just in this infamous circle, and so I'm just looking to you guys, where it's frustrating for staff and frustrating for people that have been involved in this design process for the last 3 years, to say, look, that's what you want to do. Thank you. We're willing to do it. We've done it. We're proposing. We're here.
It's not been the same design for 3 years, it's been a pavilion year 1, year 2, switch to the gazebo.
Well,
Gazebo gets dropped, and then next thing you know, we have a new porch that wraps around on the north
but
side.
if I know fairness, Brandy, what we're trying to do is answer the call to the response of town council. And when we hear direction from town council, we go off and do our thing. It's not personalized, it's nothing. And then we bring it back to you guys and say, this is what you asked us to do last month. Here's what we're presenting. And so we're just asking for direction.
February, we all made a decision, no bump outs on the bathroom, and yet that unruly bump out just keeps popping up. I've even looked at the minutes from the historic preservation board meeting in March.
But that was part of that has actually been reviewed by SHPO. So you know, but what my point is that if during the design phase that we say, hey, let's not do interior restroom modifications, it doesn't make sense, we shouldn't spend $185,000 doing it, then let's not do it. But at the end of the day, we gotta start somewhere. That's the frustration part for us.
No, I appreciate it, John, that's eloquent and it does help.
Okay, since that was my question, that answers everything So you're saying that at some point during this whole thing, we're gonna readdress a lot of these phases as they go along?
You'll still have to approve budgeting as you go along.
I mean, you guys know the process better than anybody.
Well, that was
We gotta come back to you guys at 45, we gotta come back to you at 90, and then we have that final approval. So there is a process that we've already established in place. The problem is we can't get out of the starting block.
Thank you.
I propose we vote and get out of the starting block.
Have a motion and second, Mayor.
Okay, we'll begin voting with Councilperson Haynes.
Aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Approval for town hall restrooms and renovation project passes 401 with Councilperson Haynes in dissent. Next up, discussion on golf carts and pedestrian crossings within the town.
Yes, we have,
Is that your Councilperson Haynes?
it's mine. I'll introduce it. I'll be happy to introduce it. That's okay, no worries. So we have Mr. Woodward here with Kinley Horn this evening because the issue about golf carts and golf carts within the town has come up. So Mr. Woodward is here this evening to have a discussion with town council and get some feedback from you on where you'd like to go with this. From that, he would then develop an IPO if that is town council's desire to proceed forward with changing golf cart access. So with that, I will turn it over to Mike so he can start the discussion with you all.
Thank you. So Mike Woodward with Kinley Horn, happy to be here again. You guys had an easy job tonight, no action item, just need a little bit of input from you. I'm gonna start out with a little bit of just what's in the statute of kind of what goes into the necessary studies for these, and I'm just gonna read some of the key parts. So jurisdictions can designate golf cart friendly roads, and we've already done so, and we've updated that back in 2022. And prior to making these designations, the local government entity must first determine that golf carts may safely travel on or cross the public road or street, considering factors including the speed, volume, and character of motor vehicle traffic using the road or street. And then there's a bunch of other direction in the statute about what you do in certain situations. But that's the gist of it. If the speed, volume, and character of the motor vehicle traffic is appropriate, then you can designate that road as a golf cart, part of your golf cart district. Back in 2022, the town included 4 different golf cart crossings, and most of the old town is a grid network that is part of the golf cart district, and at that time we added Lake Butler Boulevard between Park and the Wire. And so with that information, I think I'm just going to turn it back to you to get just get a better understanding of what it is you'd be looking for to expand that district, and then we could probably talk a little bit about what it would take to kind of either. If I have enough information now, I'll respond, or if that's something that I need to study and go back and provide an IPO for, I'll be as upfront and frank as I can today.
Thank you, sir. And I appreciate you coming tonight to help us out. One of the things that I'd like to clarify, and maybe you and maybe Chief, when you start talking about LSV, you start talking about, because right now we have a bridge problem. And that's part of the reason why we have half of the golf cart plan, because we didn't have a way to get there from here. We do have that as an upcoming solution, but in the interim, what are the exact regulations in terms of LSVs and whether those golf carts can be on the main roads that have 30-mile-an-hour speed limits or not?
So just your typical standard golf cart, there's not a speed limit that's part of the statute. It does reference speed limits in the section that I think is on, it's like Florida State Parks. Or a different section that would not be pertinent to what we're talking about here, and that speed limit is 35. For our roads, it's not really a speed, it's just that those criteria about the volume and character of the traffic. There are different types of vehicles once you get into I'm not sure the acronym of LSV, but there's like a much larger, much faster type of vehicle that does have more of the safety features. And those have a specific set of rules. It's not the same as the golf cart, so it gets very complicated very fast.
Chief, from your understanding, is it way, so, because obviously we're We're gonna wanna do some research, we're gonna wanna make some decisions, we're gonna wanna make sure we've got the parts and pieces in place that we need. As we stand today, is it legal for non-tagged vehicles to cross the bridge? Or to be on the main road?
If they can cross the bridge, but it's not wide enough. To cross, Main Street, across the bridge is not legal, if you're not tagged vehicle. And I think that has been part and parcel, you know, that the old adage, no good deed goes unpunished.
Yeah.
You know, we certainly want to, give some leniency where we're giving some leniency, but at the end of the day, if you're gonna ask me what the rules and the laws are, is that an untagged golf cart cannot ride on Main Street. And that is in fact the rule. So that's where it comes the problem. If you look at our golf cart, location here, there's no actual possible way to get to the school, which seems to be some of the problem at a particular time. So that's the challenge. Right, the challenge is if you ask the law enforcement officer, hey, you know, what are you gonna do? And you're gonna give me a ticket. The answer is gonna be, I have to abide by the law. I can't give you advice, or any other way around, go around that. So that's kind of where we're stuck and where we're at today. We've had some issues with this recently. We've had some things, with the SRO because of that. You know, we've had our patrol officers kind of going in to make sure the traffic detail gets there. So we've had some unhappiness with that, but at the end of the day, if you're gonna ask me, what is gonna be the rule? We have to follow the law, we're just gonna follow the law. That's gonna be plain and simple, and that'll be that's the easiest fix for the problem right now, until we can address. Maybe addressing some different, roadage that are approval for golf carts.
So if a low speed vehicle is tagged and insured and inspected, I guess.
Right.
That's the requirement, as I
It's a drive on
understand the
road.
statute, right?
Yes.
And they can cross the bridge, drive to school, right in line, just like any other vehicle, because they are properly tagged, insured, and inspected.
That's correct.
I believe that I read in the statutes that for it to be a low speed vehicle, you have to be able, your golf cart has to be able to go 24 miles per hour or faster, is that correct?
Low speed vehicles, yeah, I have here, we have a community code, yes, or, you know, anything greater than 20 miles an hour. You can get a tag as a low speed vehicle,
As what, 20 miles per hour?
yes.
So if it's 20 miles per hour or higher, then you can get, because I thought I read the statutes 24, but. So if somebody's, when I bought my golf cart, it only went 13 miles per hour. So in order to get it up to that speed, it has to be modified. So. You know, one of the things that I want to look into is if we can. And it can be like a resolution or however we need to do it, to pass, a rule that says we can be temporarily at least use Main Street to cross the bridge. And I don't know why, I guess maybe it's because we weren't allowed to cross the bridge, but the only road that's included on the north side of the bridge is Lake Butler Boulevard. So even if we do have the bridge, okay? Assuming the new pedestrian bridge is in place, we cross over the bridge, the roads that are currently allowed to be driven on with no tags stops at Lake Butler Boulevard. So we can't use Wasion Avenue or the no-name little section of street, Park Avenue extension, whatever you wanna call it, to make the rest of the connection to the school. So that's just in terms of getting that point to the school. Even when the Ward Trail is finished, it's going to stop at the roundabout and nobody can make it to the school. So we're putting the bridge in and, you know, have safe routes to schools, we're making it wide enough for a golf cart, and then no one can get beyond Lake Butler Boulevard. So it doesn't make sense that the connection to the school cannot be made. Then the other thing that I've had people bring up, you know, like, and Bob McKinley spoke to this earlier. The people who live in homes on Main Street, I mean, originally I was just looking for a connection to the school, but the people who live on paved Main can't use it at all. If they're not allowed out on their portion of Main, the moment they leave their driveways and try to get to a near interior road, they're now breaking the law. Because they're not allowed on Main Street with it. We do have families. Each their own that drive on 6th Avenue in their golf carts now with and without tags. Because we have some families that live in Isleworth that take golf carts to the school. So one of my questions is like, what kind of timeline are we talking on this to figure this out? Because, you know, we get about 30 cars off the street with our traffic problem or lineup in the afternoons to pick kids up from school because they're on golf carts instead of, you know, being in their cars. So it's gonna create more congestion very quickly if people can't take their golf carts. So, but I also have a lot of families live in the manors that have asked about the connection over to there as well on Park Avenue.
So I guess the question is, like, what sort of time frame would it take? And, I would just caution council against, recommending that we move forward with the study if their concerns are, Main Street or McGuire, because I will tell you right now that if I do a study, my recommendation will be to not, allow golf carts on those roads because of the, speed, volume, character. That would also pertain to Park Avenue, to Windermere Road, as well as to Sixth Avenue. And one piece of data that kind of justifies this is, if you recall, the Vision Zero Action Plan that was conducted by Metro Plan Orlando. They did at the regional safety analysis, and they also looked at the town of Windermere. The high crash corridors are those roads, and so recognizing that a golf cart does not have the same safety features as a car, some of the people in those car crashes were injured. If they were in a golf cart, those injuries would be significantly more severe. So again, I've not done a study, but just based on my understanding through the years of these particular roads, they do not meet the speed, volume, or character to have mixed golf cart and motor vehicle traffic. So again, I would say, please don't ask.
You made a reference to golf cart, I said, don't go over 20, they're on license.
Unlicensed, sure, so if a vehicle can go over 20, if the vehicle can go over 20 miles per hour, that's gonna be fairly consistent with a lot of the other vehicles, and really the speed differential is what makes things very dangerous. The fact that it's often busy on Main Street is not enough to make me feel comfortable letting golf carts drive there whenever, or even saying like, hey, it's okay to drive when it's busy, because then people are going slow, because while it's so busy, people are also making maybe not the best decisions, and they have to wait in congestion. And if you're familiar with driving there, you have to wait for a while, you might be a little bit more aggressive than you otherwise normally would. So again, you can ask me to do that study, but I prefer not to do it because I'm very it's highly unlikely that I would recommend changing those roads to be designated as part of your golf cart district. Now, if there is a desire of connecting to the school, a road like Wasion, sure, that's fine, no big deal there. But once you get to that point, you still gotta cross the road, so I don't think that location would be appropriate to have a crossing right there. Based on the spacing and everything else that's happening in that area. So if there was a recommendation to do some sort of study of how do we get from point A to point B, it's going to involve some infrastructure. As a matter of fact, we looked at that several years ago, maybe about 2016 or so, where we came up with some recommendations to kind of expand the network and connect some of the areas to the north. It would take some wider, if we could get like an 8-foot wide sidewalk, then we can designate those parts, specific sections of sidewalk as part of the golf cart district, to then have those sort of routes. Again, that would take some infrastructure and some amount of time to reach full connectivity.
So,
I'd like to, remind some of the council members that were present, to the new council members, that we've had this discussion before. And the plan all along was to revisit this once the bridge got in place. Because that's the connector that goes to the north to enable all of this. Mike, I know you've done some studies going all the way up to Estancia, all the way to the east to the Grove. So that's the final plan. The first step of that was always to put the bridge in.
Well, and I think the other thing, Councilperson Deb, is we have to be mindful, and when we start talking about infrastructure, we talk about, sidewalks used to be cheap, well, they're not. And 8-foot sidewalks are certainly not cheap. So, as well as making sure you have the right way to do all of that. Once we get started on Fork Trail, we're gonna have significant investment in that in order to complete it. I don't know what's gonna be left to take additional infrastructure. What we may want to ask for is, once we have the bridge in place, what's the minimum safety what's the minimum amount we need to do to make it safe, as well as work to get folks to where they can go, which may be the school, which may be some other places. I mean, we're tracking the amount of golf carts that are there. It's like 10 a day to me so far, since it's very early, so I'd say that's the
Yeah,
number.
it's more.
About half are tagged, half are not. So I think in the short term, having the vehicles tagged, insured, and inspected is the way to go to solve the issue temporarily. As we look for potential other solutions, we knew because we weren't, when our forefathers put the town together, they didn't build out a golf cart safe community necessarily. So, if we were building something today, we would certainly include that, much like we have with the work trail. We're gonna have to look at what that takes. So by the time we do a study, I'm gonna guess it's gonna cost somewhere in the neighborhood of $35,000 to $40,000.
It really depends on what we look at, Mayor.
Okay. I mean, am I like way out of? Twenty?
Again, what we're talking about, yeah.
They're not inexpensive. Okay,
Correct.
so there's gonna be some investment there. We also wanna look at the crosswalk corridors. That's going to be a part of that as well. Go ahead.
Man, sorry.
Yes, absolutely.
It's a question for Chief, but also I agree, I think we need to wait till the bridge because I'm a golf cart owner, but I can't drive mine because I live on the other side of the bridge, so I can't use my golf cart. But if the golf carts are not tagged and insured, just crossing over Park to Lake Butler, is that an issue? I'm just asking, we plan on tagging and, but I just.
That's the problem, son, like, what you asked for, and I think if it's not an approved location, then technically it's not illegal.
So what if we did the crosswalk
I think there's-
around the course where it's wide enough, that's where the golf carts are as well?
I think if you got, I think what Mike's looking for, some direction to move forward, if he does,
Right.
we got some. I think some good ideas to make it simpler. I certainly have that, I mean, I think we're super way of safe to do that.
Yeah, and so I think we need to wait till the bridge goes in, because then we're gonna see how many.
That's gonna make a huge difference.
Or maybe in tandem with the bridge going in, look at the IPO to do a study to figure out what the best way is to accomplish both items. Because I would love to do a comprehensive look at all of that, but I don't know if we get the bang for the buck there.
Sure, and I would just wanna know, like, what are your primary objectives, right? Like, I'm hearing some desires to connect to the school, that sounds like we have to work with the principal as well as school resource officer, because I'm sure they care, what part of the school are they connecting to? I know, I don't know the answer to that, I've never had conversations with them.
Well, you're correct that they do, because the previous administration wasn't really an approval of having golf carts there at all, so now that seems to have shifted, and I don't know whether that's jurisdiction of the principal. Or if that is another, again, sometimes when you start asking these questions, you get the answers you don't want, because then you gotta go through the school board, and the school board's gonna say, no, thank you. Or maybe they'll say, great, we love that idea, I don't know.
I think that's where we find ourselves right now, Mayor. I mean, with a change over there, everybody's a little bit different, and also getting there, some a little bit more lenient than others, and we got a little bit lax on that, so.
All because we've really tried to be nice and accommodating, and that works, until you get to a certain place, and then it becomes a little more difficult.
But I think there's a way to certainly get it done once the bridge is done. I think that's the most appropriate way. I just try to make it legal for everyone. That makes it.
The bridge will definitely change what people are doing, and that probably will inform, okay, well, what else do we want to do? So just from that perspective, I think waiting would be prudent, especially knowing that, a lot of the other connectivity is going to take some amount of additional infrastructure, whether it's a crosswalk and a wide sidewalk for some distance. If we're gonna have to do the infrastructure, then we have to budget for that anyways, so waiting until the bridge is gonna be here, which is about a year. Then those travel patterns will inform what your desires and objectives are. Now, if it's something as easy as, can we ride golf carts around within the HOA? Like, that's a pretty easy question. You don't need a separate IPO for something like that. But how do I get from point A to point B? It's gonna need some infrastructure, and so you could do it now or later. I would recommend waiting until after the bridge.
I'm trying to think of the best way to get where we want to go. So potentially, is the best way to do this as an option to do the bridge. In tandem with doing the bridge, we could look at an IPO that we could see now that the bridge would be there and it's a safe passage, we've got all the way up to the roundabout covered. Where can we go from there?
Yeah, I mean,
Because that's more inclusive of the entire community there than just saying we'd like to get to this.
Well, that was the discussion when we had the previous discussion with the prior council, is that we addressed that. Once where do we go? and
What can we get there? What will it cost?
To get to that next phase of the golf cart path, it next stops you.
I think that I understand what you're saying, waiting for the bridge to come. I had some parents today tell me they've been waiting 6 years for the bridge and their kids will be out in the elementary school before it's ever done. And I understand the process is slow, but we know the bridge is coming. We've approved the bridge. We know construction is gonna start potentially in the summer, the upcoming summer. So I would rather, at least for the connection from the south part of the town to the school, to be maybe running on a parallel track so that, you know, we're figuring out where it needs to go now so that we can kind of move on it after the bridge is built. Because if we wait, we're gonna have the bridge with the golf cart crossing to kind of nowhere other than like Butler Boulevard. We won't even have Waseon. I mean, if Waseon's not a good place, I think that's what you said, because of how it's very close to the intersection in the roundabout. I totally understand that. So if the work trail we already know is going to go up there. And, you know, and there must have been confusion when I've had this conversation in the past, but I mean, and I understand the administration changes, and yes, we probably need a full buy-in from the school district. But the current principal is okay with us parking close to McGuire. So I don't know exactly where the property of the town's right of way ends versus where the school's property begins on the east side of the campus. But I feel like we should be kind of figuring that out so that we can roll right into the next phase of at least the connection to the school. And if Main Street, Sixth Street and Park Avenue are not gonna be an option because you wouldn't feel confident giving us, you know, the okay, you know, we can put golf carts on there that aren't tagged at a certain speed. Then I would, and maybe Tanya, if you could still pull that up for me. So when I originally kind of came up with this plan with talking to people, there were two issues. There's the issue that's up next to the school, but then there's also,
Is it yours that you would like, Brandy? I'm
yeah,
sorry.
that.
Okay.
So this is, the green, this is my highlighter, okay, so it's not a professional, this is a printout that I did. The green lines are where the golf carts are allowed now, and our crossings are the ones highlighted in pink. I feel like, and I've, you know, talked with other golf cart users, and this is more people who live, you know, on the isthmus, because, you know, like Mandy said, she's not allowed to bring her golf cart down here yet. When you leave like the playground and you want to come over to town hall or the library, or when the new businesses get opened there, we're allowed out on Fifth Street on both sides of the roundabout, but we're not allowed into the roundabout to cross and get to the other side. So, for example, I'm at the playground, we don't have a restroom there, I know that's a fun topic tonight, but there's no restroom at the playground, so we leave, we come over to the library to go to the bathroom. I can't cross Main Street anywhere in the center of town. So my choice is to go up Oakdale to Second Avenue, cross at Second Avenue and come back south to get to the town square, the library, anything in the central part of town where everybody's at. And my other choice is to go over to Magnolia and cross down and then run down to 8th Street and then cross over. That would be my closest way of for anything we want to come to for town hall. So it makes more sense to have a crossing somewhere in the center of town. My other concern from being in the southeast quadrant, that's where my home is that we have a crossing at 11th Street and 8th Street on Main. And I did read the report that you guys did before when you assessed why you chose 11th Street and, you know, why you chose the other ones. And it talked about, you know, all the different criteria that it talked about, but one of the things it didn't talk about was the speed of the vehicles. Everybody I know crosses at 7th Avenue, not 8th, even though that's legally where we're supposed to cross. Except for the people further to the south, like Mr. Lewis's family, I think most of them utilize 11th Street, because they're south of the diverter. And I know that was added to them. But at 7th Street, the traffic is slower because they're approaching the roundabout. And 8th Street, it's moving much quicker. And there is a law, if I'm not mistaken, that says cars are supposed to yield to golf carts when we have posted crossings, but they don't. So, I know blinking lights are expensive, because we've had those conversations recently. So I think it would be better for if there is one down there, that one be located at 7th Street. Coming out on Magnolia Street, if you're coming southbound on Magnolia Street, trying to cross over 6th Avenue, there's like a wall of vegetation that you cannot see beyond to see oncoming traffic coming in from Orlando. And everyone I know pretty much crosses at Oakdale instead of Magnolia, so I would like to at least look at some different intersection crossings that would allow the central part of town to be connected. I mean, even when the new businesses are there, in order for me to take the golf cart to go shop with the new businesses, I would have to, I guess, go over to Magnolia, cross at 6th Street, which is near impossible, and then come around through Pocket Park. The map actually does draw a line through Pocket Park. However, Pocket Park has sidewalks that are smaller than the 8 feet, and we have holes in the middle of the grass, but people are going there anyway. They used to take the road, that was technically the 500 block property. And we can't use that anymore because they have the wall now. So, but it's on the map. It's also on the map to, cross exactly by our town admin offices to this square, and the only way you can do that is to go through a pedestrian crossing. Right here. So, I feel like we need to look at those intersection crossings to make it somewhere safer. And then try to look at the connection to the school on a parallel track and maybe to the manors but you're saying by Park Avenue, so that becomes an 8-foot wide sidewalk to connect to the manors, I'm assuming.
Probably.
Yeah. So is everybody okay with, does anybody have any points they'd like to add about looking at other locations to cross?
I mean, not at this time for me, anybody else?
I like 7th and 4th, that's my crossing spot, I don't do that, I did the other day, chief, sorry, I was in a hurry.
Yeah, we never been, we did that.
I did watch both ways, but for 8, I do get 8, they're fine, 7th they're not, so. But I still want 8 if you're supposed to, but I like 7th and 4th, the same reason, traffic slows down, closer to town, and they're actually lets you go. At 8, they don't, you have to wait.
Right.
So for me, those two intersect, I don't know the other ones you talked about, they're,
4th goes into the church, right? Like if you cross over 4th, you pop out in the church.
yeah, that's fine, it's a safe zone there too, for me.
Okay.
So at least 7th and 4th, I don't know if it's a big deal, Mike, or not, but it's. Just my-
Oakdale 7th and 4th.
What's the parameters here?
This sounds like, I mean, this all.
Well, the.
So were we looking back just downtown, is what you're saying?
I think that we should look at different intersections to cross on, because most of the people that I know, I mean, and we can get feedback from more residents if you guys want, but I think the majority of the people don't use the ones that are the designated so-called crossings currently, whether that's legal or not, we don't use those.
What's not legal.
I
I
understand.
want to be crystal clear.
Yes, correct.
I'm sorry, you finished, and then I do have a concern.
Okay, and then the other part is to not wait until the bridge is constructed before we look at the connection the rest of the way to the school.
Okay, my concern with the ones downtown is we're asking him to redo a study of the findings he's already found and decide if those were the right places, whether they're right or not, but we're asking him to redo a report he's already done.
Okay, so why were those locations selected when you chose
You have to
seven
pull the whole
or?
report, but I mean, this is the report you did, and these were the cross you had, correct?
I thought the report was selected.
So
Yeah.
we did a study back around 2016 or so, and I sort of don't remember everything.
Okay, no, that was my only concern, but I mean, if we're asking for the same thing, if they're following the same parameters, we're gonna get the same answers.
Well, I mean, the only thing that could potentially change is, traffic volumes, but. I mean, it does sound like what we're asking for is pretty big bite of the apple.
Yeah.
So if we're gonna go down that road. And maybe that is what is required at this juncture. Two things that we need to consider: the fact that it's gonna probably be a pretty good sized investment in terms of the study that we'll need. And the other piece of it will be, sometimes when you study things, you're gonna find things you don't wanna know, and they require all the carts to be licensed. That's always a possibility. I'm sure people understand that. It can get more cumbersome. So just know that, I'm just saying, just so we go into our eyes wide open.
So when we did the 2022 is when you added 11th Street after the diverter was done. How much was it to do just that? Because that was like a section of a study, correct? To look at the intersection of 11th by itself?
Sure.
Because that was added after the diverter.
After we put the diverter in, I think we put in a crosswalk at 11, is that what you're referring to?
No, Mike, what happened when we put the diverter in, is you had folks on the other side of 9th on Oakdale that could no longer get to the legal crossing that's on there. So you did a quick study for me under your miscellaneous IPO to determine where we could have them cross down on that section.
That one was quick, because it was like a change in conditions, and so in response to that change, that was a relatively small scope study. It was like looking at one particular area and what should we do now for the diverter. So that was much smaller and easier due to the small scope and only one question being.
Okay, so if we look at 3 intersections like Tom suggested for 4th Street and 7th Street.
So I'd love to have data to really understand what's happening, and so. From that perspective, we could do somewhat like of a survey where we're asking the town. If you could cross here, or there, right? If there's maybe 3 options and they're all relatively similar from a safety perspective. And then knowing, okay, what's the local preference would be a very useful piece of information. So we could do something like that to ask those questions in a very pointed way, like as you're trying to cross Main Street. If you have a choice of, and I'm just winging it, maybe there's only
Right.
2 good choices, maybe there's 3. We could put that out there, get the data, and then as long as it's a similar safety perspective, I'd be very comfortable just going with whichever one has the highest rank.
Okay.
There could be some concern like, well, I didn't see the survey, I didn't get a chance to vote, right? But we could take that approach, and again, if there's similar safety results, I'm fine with different options.
Okay, I mean, I think we're gonna have the same situation as when the diverter went in, we had to come up with a plan for the people south of it. When these businesses are done, and it's very close now, we're gonna have people that wanna go, so, I think we need to have the safest crossings that we can. But preferably the ones people use, because I guess whatever you look at when you're looking at safety, is the speed of the vehicles in that area a criteria you can look at.
Sure, it is,
Okay.
it is. Knowing exactly what the speed is everywhere is a little bit tougher, but we could use the information we have and certainly do observations of at what point speeds generally seem to be changing.
Right, cause like me and Tom have experienced, as people are approaching that roundabout, they're slowing down.
Mhm.
So that, closer to the roundabout crossings are generally just feel a lot safer.
Well, don't do it just for me.
No, but I mean, you're not the
I
only
don't
one.
wanna spend $40,000 on my state, but I'm just saying if you're asking. I mean, I can cross state, I'm good, but I'm just saying, if you're going through the process, yeah. Yeah. Good.
I mean, I think the people who are in the southeast quadrant get affected more by it, because you can run 4th Street all the way up town. And you can cross,
To be honest, with you, I didn't put a cost to it, back in the early '80s, two time, but.
There is another solution, you can always tag your dog.
That's true, you still can't cross it.
With the
Well, you can't,
Yeah.
yeah, makes sense.
There-
So there's-
that's-
Can't tag mine.
I don't think mine could do a consistent 20.
The record, I'm willing to go off to 8, and it's been
Yes.
$40,000.
Yeah,
Well, but this kind of thing you're saying by looking at the survey and doing that, that would be as costly as a full blown. What you just suggested.
There's a lot of points being brought up here, so it sounds like this would be a much more intense study than just the one location we were looking at previously.
Well, I mean,
We're
if
kicking
we,
around
if
a
we
lot of
look at
ideas,
it,
and not quite zeroing in, I'm hearing like revisit every one of the crossings in the downtown area. As well as connect to the school and try to connect some of the other neighborhoods, so, these are a lot of different questions that would have to be answered by the study.
That's, yeah,
Well,
that's
that's
essentially a redo.
right, so like. Phase one, just to look at different intersection crossings.
Revisit the 4 intersection crossings that
I don't care if you leave the original 4, can you just look at 7 and
We
4?
would wanna have multiple, we wanna have them concentrated in one area,
Okay.
so if it's gonna be, it would be
It would be,
in lieu of.
Okay.
So I guess we're talking about 4 locations.
well, I don't, the 11th Street one, I don't think is really an issue.
We
for
would want
people, but-
concepts of what it would take to, like, the cost and what that design would look like, so we could put together a scope of just that, if that's direction.
I would argue that we should just do this for a single person's convenience.
I mean, I'm thinking that you know that you're getting what you really want out of that.
Okay, but please don't say that it's a single person's convenience.
Are you,
No, I spoke, okay, if every meeting I have to name names, I've spoke with the Walters, I've spoke with the Greers, I've spoke with the Diedrichs. I've spoke with the Thesons and Clysons, and Sarah has a different last name that I also cannot pronounce. I've spoke with the neighbors that are all around me. Now, the people who are south of the diverter, they cross at 11th Street. Or they're tagged and they come out at 9th and Main, so it's not one person. This crossing down there is for the people who live down there. We're the ones who have to cross 6th Avenue unless someone's coming to visit us, so it's not one person.
I'm trying to ask a simple question. Are with what Mike just spoke of, are we getting what you would like to get out of this in terms of reviewing? Because when I initially heard you, and what I'm initially reading in emails, this is all been developing, right? So what I'm hearing is there's issues at the school.
Yes.
Is that separate from what you would like to have examined downtown? That's all I'm asking. Because I don't know that we started with the school, now we're more downtown. I'm just trying to get an idea where we're at so we can give some specific.
I think we should, for the connection from the bridge, if we wait till the bridge is constructed, it's supposed to start next summer for Word Trail phase 1. I don't know what 12 to 18 months construction time is what staff told me. I don't know what piece of that 12 to 18 months that the bridge is going to get installed. I think it would be silly to wait for the bridge to be installed, say 1 year from now. And then we look at the connection point from the bridge to get us the rest of the way to the school, because then you're gonna have another year of planning it out and another year of getting it into place. So I think it makes more sense for the connection to the school to run it on a parallel track. To figure it out, because we know it's something we wanna do.
And to include the downtown crossings. I'm just trying to get specific.
I think it should include the downtown crossings, because I think they're safer places to cross, yes, and I think that's what the people are asking for. You're not gonna have, of course, by proportion, you're not gonna have people on the west side of town as concerned about how they're crossing to the southeast quadrant, because they don't live there. They're not the ones who have to come out every day. So if you expect to have the same amount of people complaining about the crossings in the southeast quadrant that live on Forest and Butler Street, that's insane. They don't have to come there. Tom Street is one of the few people who actually we see there a lot. And I know a couple of people in the northeast corner. But yeah, they're not the ones who live there, so they're not having to use it every day to get places safely.
I understand, I'm just
Right.
trying to quantify
Those would be the two
what it
things
is that
I-
I'd like to have, so we can give him
Right.
directions in terms of what I do.
I mean, I didn't realize until this evening that Park Avenue and the other streets are probably a no-go. So the intersections and some sort of connection with the Ward Trail that's gonna be built that we've approved to make that last little connection. crossing at, near the roundabout. Make it pedestrian friendly, fix the problem with the oars all at the same time, whatever. Yeah,
Is council amenable to requesting an IPO that covers from the newly built bridge to the school along with the downtown crossings?
I really feel like, and then Mike, you inferred this, that it would be best if we waited till the bridge was built and get more information, then he would build, otherwise we have to do it all over again. That's my opinion.
Yeah, well, I'm, you know, I think that it's the larger it gets, more likely it becomes a budget item too, that we're gonna have to address. We didn't budget for this. Have this
And I
discussion.
like the idea that we can have some discussions about it, because we should have some stuff to give him specific direction. That's while we're moving forward with this, but for me, I really feel like the things are gonna change once the bridge is built for a lot of people, and I think we're gonna be the rest of the most important issue then. This is my opinion.
No, that's fine. No, it's totally fine. That's why I asked. I want to make sure that, you know, we don't send him to go do a lot of work and staff to do a lot of work and everybody's not some sort of consensus about direction. Not looking for a vote, just, you know, just in terms of, is that what everybody is interested in looking at and address?
I think I'd be more willing at this point is to say, if we wanna readdress the intersections in town. I think as scope, I'd be more comfortable with that. We're talking 12 to 18 months, I'm gonna bet 18 to 24 months on the bridge, so even if we get the bridge ordered and we got a better idea of use and capacity, maybe start looking at, because, you know, everything changes so quickly. You know, everything's got, golf carts were huge 5 years ago and they feel like they're tapering off again. And I'm seeing less and less park downtown, used by residents. So, you know, so I'm hardly going, okay, how far do we go up that right now before we even have a bridge to get there? But, you know, re-looking and addressing these intersections downtown, sure. I mean, there should be a preference, especially if, Emily Horn didn't do it to start with. They may come up with a different set of data points.
Yes. Could staff go find the previous studies that have evaluated why we put the crossing areas where we did?
Yes.
I mean,
And it's
There's a reason
there.
there.
Correct. Well, and some of them were different than what council truly wanted, but they were different because of the data. Yeah, I mean, I think that we all felt like, man, I don't really love that place, but it was.
The fourth one wasn't popular,
Right.
like, why
There's
is
a
it
couple
way down there?
And again,
You know, so, and the one at fourth, why wasn't it fit? Is at the time,
second, we don't have.
or second?
Yeah, second, okay,
Why is it way down on second when everybody's trying to get downtown,
right,
going all the way to second to come all the way back?
right.
But there was a reason they moved it there. You know, or suggested that that was the place for it. So, I mean, if we got the data, let's look at that first. But re-examining these, I would be opposed to that. I'm not really like you for that.
let's start there. Everyone agree? Sure.
Good.
Yeah. All right, we'll move on to mayor and council liaison reports. First thing I want to do is thank everybody and for an amazing holiday hoopla. It's a great event, super well attended, nice town specific event, and I think everybody had a really nice time. Looked like it to me anyways. I appreciate everybody coming and enjoying it. The other things we're gonna have, we'll have a nutcracker at White Swan, we're doing the nutcracker over at Family Church on the, I believe it's 21st. So please come out and support that. It's a really beautiful, I'm biased, of course, because my other dances, but it really is well done, lasts about an hour, and everybody who gets to see it really enjoys it. We had previously done it out here on the basketball court. Last year monsoon, the church was nice enough to let us use the stage to save the event and invite us back because I think that everybody's enjoyed it. So love to see everybody there. It is at 1 o'clock and there's some banners out front. So I also want to take this opportunity to wish everybody Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. We appreciate all that staff does for our town. We appreciate all the residents and their input. certainly appreciate all the work that they're here to do, and give up their time to best represent the entire community. So, any additional, liaison reports?
Yeah, just real quick, Mayor, the HPV was canceled, but the municipal advisory committee for metro planning met Thursday. And they went over the Central Florida expressways, plans for the next period. In addition to covering the new off ramp off the turnpike on the Sand Lake.
That's it. So,
A lot of good information, going forward, nothing that directly impacts us, but I think that interchange with Sand Lake may help.
good. Excellent. Any additional reports?
Tree board had, I think between the last meeting and now, we had our subcommittee meeting for tree ordinances. So they're looking at changes to mitigation fees and so just fines, like, you know, if somebody doesn't have an arborist report, because of course our hands are tied by the state. We have another one of those.
Tomorrow.
Oh, yes, tomorrow morning. And then, at the regular tree board, they started to take a deep dive into their strategic plan to pick off the things that they wanted to do, which was the subcommittee for the ordinance. And then working on, some of the stuff for the tree view coming up in January, and I believe there's one other thing, but my memory slips. Butler Chain of Lakes Advisory Board meeting, met, they're not going to be meeting in December. They gave updates about just Al-Anon treatments and stuff they're doing in the different lakes. Not really right here in town at the moment, lake levels are back down, boat ramps are open. And then for the student advisory council meeting, nothing really on that one's really.
Into other stuff in it. Totally outdated, so we want to do that. Obviously, it will get to us in the whole bit, but you will get it, and I really recommend you. The whole.
Here's where we're at.
Yeah, G would do that too.
Thank you very much, because we had a few people that, I think they just felt like they didn't wanna sign up or maybe need to sign up. And then after the hurricane, there were some things that they could have actually, they could have used police officer, then, you know, when you look at the salary, you don't recognize it. We just want to be treated equitably.
Yeah, Mayor, if I can add to that, there actually is, Orange County Public School does have a police, it is their responsibility to fulfill the order someone that was that. We were quote unquote out of contract, but this slightly out of contract, we still had officer. He's since recently retired, has nothing to do with the contract, so completely separate than that whatsoever. But again, we fulfill that obligation. We are in a contract, we're in a 1-year contract. We have our next meeting on January 14th. It makes very no fiscal responsibility for me to sign a 3-year contract with a de minimis raise that, who knows what they're gonna get approved over there in year 2 and year 3. I mean, it makes no sense whatsoever. I've been here since 2013, we've signed a 1-year contract since 2013. There's never been an issue. If you look at the agreement, based on the fact that it's their responsibility, we're a vendor. There's not a vendor that I do business with that I get to set the price. The vendor said, here's the price. Here's what it's gonna cost you the next 3 years, and here's what it is. We're trying to do this in reverse. But again, negotiations have been ongoing, we're already starting on January 14th. So there's a lot of hoopla for nothing, to be honest with you.
I'm confident that we'll get there.
I am doing that.
It's all.
Tanya.
Good evening, council. So we're entering what I hope is more of a slower period for my team. However, with the centennial celebrations coming up, my team is eagerly out there replacing banners in December, so that come January 1, you'll have centennial banners on the streets. Secondly, we are redoing the entryway signs for the centennial year. The ones that are there will be taken off. We'll be putting the centennial ones up in this month. And then, of course, the beautiful ones that we have that have been painted and taken care of so well will go back at the end of the centennial year. So my team is responsible for making sure all of those things get installed. In addition, we are assisting the tree board with their centennial celebration activities, as well as historic preservation board and also Parks and Recreation Committee. So my team is helping with a lot of those different activities as well. So pretty busy for them. Secondly, we did note that the ramps are back open, the lake ramps. However, Fernwood right now has a gate issue that we're fixing. That's why it's continued to stay in the locked open position. We have welders coming out to take care of that. Can't close it because that would actually damage it worse. So we're going to get that fixed, and then we will be closing the Fernwood gates again. So just want everyone to know why those were open. They have to have a repair.
Thank you, Tanya. Thank you also for taking away my entertainment at Forest and Butler. It was fun watching everybody get stuck there. And now you fixed it. So it gets every Amazon truck.
There's a lot of them right now. We the mayor and the council. A couple quick things. We are hosting obviously a lot of different patrol cars at the police department this week. We're actually hosting a class called the Detecting Deception for homicides and critical cases that has been planned for months and months. So it's great that we get to host some of these events with other agencies that see our police department, and they made some really great comments about that. So it's one thing we're happy to do. DUI details coming up December 20th. We got a mutual aid, so we'll have a couple officers working that. We have an overtime detail that we approved that gets paid through the county. We have 2 officers that will be in that. For anybody's interested, Thursday night at Sanchez having an HOA, I'm gonna go there and talk to them a little bit. So if you're in town and around, you're welcome to show up to that. That's all that happened.
Thank you, Chief. Quick culture. The updates on qualifying, meaning, fun stuff like that.
Well, yes, qualifying opens tomorrow.
They're here first.
And it's January 11th, that's right. Who's up? It is Tom Stewart, Mandy, and Tom. So those seats are open. However, with everything going on down in the supervisor elections office, I'm not too sure how things are gonna happen and play out. So whoever is gonna qualify, try qualifying for, I would get the petitions in as soon as possible, because I believe it's gonna take them some time to get those, worked through, losing staff left and right over there, so.
And we suggest a few extra as well.
Yeah.
Just because you never know.
I normally give 30 in the packet.
the one initial one, everybody fill out and then highlight the spots, so everybody just takes the copies and have the copies filled out by. Make sure they're a registered voter, ask them if they voted in the presidential election, they'll let you know.
And where?
Yes.
I always say, do you vote at town hall?
Right.
Well, no, because some of the residents in the presidential voted at the Pines.
Yeah.
So between the Pines and here.
Sure.
So it's kind of like a walk.
It's just the way that the supervisor of election has broke off the jurisdictions. Yeah, their sections, that's how it works.
Get on your golf cart.
As long as people give me a ticket, I'm good. So I'm being caught.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Great, if there's nothing else for the good of the order, we will close our town council meeting. Thank you all.